Hi, my name is Bruce Alford, and I was in that band.
Hi, Bruce. I'm Grady Sandlin. Good to see you, man.
Morning.
Yeah. Doing okay?
I'm doing good.
How's business?
It's, ebbs and flows, ups and downs, things like that. Just got to learn to survive it.
Talk a little bit about what you're doing. What's going on with you?
I currently run a drum shop out of North Richland Hills. I'm inside Platinum Music Complex there. It's called Fort Worth Drum Emporium because it started in Fort Worth, but it's not that much of a drive to North Richland Hills. So just kept the name easier that way.
Yeah, I think it's got a better. It's like your buddy John Zug out in Saxe is Dallas Drum. I mean, it's easier.
Yeah, well, if he used Saxe and I used North Richland Hills, there'd be too many people saying, "Where you at?"
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, I mean, it's like I've often thought like Zug drums would be cool. Like I think that has a better.
That's a cool name.
I haven't brought it up to him.
You should suggest that.
I bet I have actually because I've always thought it.
I thought about a day. I was already selling drums, used gear, which is what I do mainly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't sell any brand new. I don't order brand new drums from a wholesaler or distributor. I get all my stuff from people. But I thought long and hard about the name. I didn't come up with the name until February 2020, oddly enough.
Yeah.
And I'd been doing it for about a year and a half. And I put up a post on Facebook, and I was like, I need help coming up with a shop name. Whoever wins gets some free gear. And I had a lot of suggestions for generic, kind of silly drum-related names. Mm-hmm. And then Matt Mabe from Fort Worth stepped up and said, "You should call it the Drum Emporium." And I was like, or he might have said Fort Worth Drum Emporium. I don't remember, but I said, "That's the one." And I texted him and I said, "Hey, man, what are you looking for?" He said, "I need a 20-inch China." And I said, "First one I get will be yours."
Awesome.
It took about 9 months, but I found him one.
So, and it seemed like before you had your current spot, it was like a storage space, right?
Yeah, I originally long before the official name, I started in a rehearsal spot. Vaden Lewis from the Toadies has got his spot down on, I can't remember the street. I had a spot in there because I was trying to get something going with some guys I know at the church that I used to play with.
Okay.
And nobody had time, but I finally found out after months and months. And that rehearsal spot just kind of came into a staging. It came to be a staging area for used gear. And after 6 months, I was like, oh, I've paid for my rent, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. And so I moved out. I got a 5x10 storage unit. This was in the fall of 19. I was also in the middle of about to get married. Had a lot going on, so I wasn't as active. But yeah, that 5x10 quickly had to be moved to a 7.5x10. And then it moved to a 10x15, and then I moved up to Platinum.
I love it. I love sort of keeping your sort of expectations small and gradually stepping up, because that's very much a model that I work under, is just like move up as there's demand.
Yeah.
I dislike it when people have like really lofty dreams. Yeah. And they try and skip a few spaces or something.
Yeah,
I'm
like don't go get a loan from a bank for $100,000 to open a music shop. Bad idea.
Yeah, terrible idea. It's not going to work.
I've told a few people this yesterday just by chance. I literally started buying and selling gear from one drum set. I bought a $600 kit in Keller after church services on a Sunday, and I flipped it, and it took about 5 months. Because the premise was like, man, my money needs to make money. Like, I'm getting older, And so I was like, well, I can't just do 5 months. What am I going to do, 3 sets a year? That's not going to do anything.
Right.
I'm not going to see enough money to make it worth my while. And so, which is part of the reason that rehearsal spot ended up being a staging room for gear, and it just kind of spiraled. And then, oddly enough, 2020 is what kicked off my business.
Sure.
You would think it would kill it. It did the exact opposite because people wanted to buy gear who were sitting at home who didn't even play drums.
Yep.
And all the musicians who had extra gear who were in dire need of money were all dumping it.
Yeah.
Like people were dumping things for a quarter to the value of $1. I mean, like for hardly anything. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And the pub was closed. So.
Because you also bartend.
Yes.
Do you manage that place or are you just a bartender?
I'm a co-manager.
Yeah,
I do all the inventory. I order all the beer, all the liquor on a weekly basis, and I decide what goes on the shelf.
And you're passionate about that too, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a love affair with England.
Yeah. Okay.
I got my passport here, my Union Jack.
Yeah, tattoo and like, and you like that sort of English beer.
Yeah, I love the pub culture over there.
Awesome.
Not to mention all the food.
And like soccer and stuff too?
Well, they call it football.
Sure.
And so football was a weird thing. When I met my now wife, she's a huge Man United fan. Been that way since she was a teenager because she was playing soccer over here and their coach made them watch matches and she just became a United fan.
Cool.
And she would watch matches, when we were dating and I'm just like, bleh. Sports, boo. Mm-hmm. And it took a few years. Yeah. And then I would say about a year and a half, 2 years ago, it started taking hold. And one of my mates over in London's a big Fulham supporter. And it just kind of grabbed me. And then last summer, all I watched was the Euros, and it just, I don't know, it just got me. So, yeah, I'm into that now.
Who's your team?
I don't have one yet.
Okay.
I know that sounds weird, and people tell me, like, we have to have one. You have to pick one. Can't have two. And I'm like, well, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I tend to concentrate on watching the clubs out of London, like Fulham and Tottenham, sometimes West Ham.
Yeah. That big Liverpool win from, what was that, a week and a half ago?
Yeah, they
do
got
anything for
crowned
you?
Champions of the Premier League.
Yeah.
Quite early.
I know.
And so I've got several friends who are Liverpool supporters.
Yeah.
So they were quite happy.
That's cool. I like that's an interesting thing, like from a American sports perspective to be like, oh, they're the champion. And then like, yeah, I can't, and then they still have to play.
Yeah, so
like that's freaking wild.
That's so weird. And I'm still learning about the sport, but like over there's 5 tiers of the English Football League, and the Premier League's at the top. Mm-hmm. There's another league that constitutes the top 4 or 5 teams from every European and English. Anyway, it gets complicated. If you follow the Wrexham story at all, you can sort of get a grasp of the way they've moved up and how it all operates. But yeah, you can get relegated and you can go down.
Yeah.
And if you go down out of the Premier League, it's literally a loss of £90 million. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And if you go up, of course, you get the money. But so yeah, I've slowly become sort of passionate about that, But it all started. It literally all started with one trip to England in 2006.
What were you doing?
Well, I'd been on a cigar forum for a number of years, Cuban cigar forum. And I finally, in late 2006, the girl that I was playing music with had a wedding to go to, a family wedding. And I knew this months in advance. And one of my friends from Frisco we were all buds with the guys in England. He had already been over to England and met up with these guys. So anyway, in short, I knew that there wouldn't be a gig booked. So I went to England in September of 2006, and my mate Glenn picked me up and handed me a cigar and a beer in the car, and I just fell in love with the place.
Yeah.
I just instantly, I cannot explain it. It's literally like a second home to me at this point.
You go every year?
Every year. This September will be my 14th trip.
And have you okay, so there's cigars, there's beer, there's football. Food. Is there anything going on there drums wise?
I've slowly started to try to implement my trips over there to be drum related. My mate Glenn took me down to the coast to Plymouth. Yeah, Plymouth. There's a drum store down there called Graham Russell Drums, and it's a huge warehouse, multi-floor, two floor, I think. And they were the nicest dudes ever. We went down there on a Monday, and I was going to take the train, and Glenn said he had the day off, so he drove me. They were really cool, and we walked in, and I told them up front, I said, hey, I just wanted to come down and visit. I operate a used store in Texas, and I unfortunately can't buy anything because I flew over, but I just wanted to come down and say hello to you guys and look around. And so I looked around and checked out their used gear and their new gear and all that stuff.
That's cool.
And their prices are, it's weird. It's hard to explain it, but if something sells for $250 used over here, like a cymbal or a snare drum, it sells for 250 pounds over there. So the number is comparable.
Yeah. But
the conversion rate makes it more.
Yeah, is it? I don't know much about I always assume it's like double.
It's not double anymore. The pounds lost a lot of power since Brexit.
Okay.
So it's not double anymore. Basically, $1 equals 75p. So
okay.
Or 1 pound equals $125. It's sort of complicated, but not.
Are you playing?
I'm not.
No. How long has that been?
I stopped. I struggled the last 8 years. I played was a combination of playing with Scott Copeland, and the guys in that band were Ryan Tharp, Denver Green, the last iteration of the band. Scott Boland on keyboards. He lives down south now, like way down south.
I know Tharp.
Yeah,
he's a monster.
That band just I joined up with those guys or Copeland. After a move back to Fort Worth, and it just kind of clicked. And then as we got tighter, the guitar player left. His name was Robbie, and then Ryan came in, and then within like 2 months, it just all gelled. And Roger Ray, Roger Ray from Bowling.
Yeah,
I say remember as if he's.
No, I know, but yeah, that's a name.
Everybody should know Roger.
Absolutely.
He told Scott Boland, the keyboard player, said, man, you guys need to go into the studio and just make it simple. Just hit record and start playing. So that's what we did. Yeah. We cut a record. We cut 18 songs in 9 hours. I've never recorded so fast in my life. And we would just groove on the verse for about 20 seconds, and then we'd stop, and I'd look over. We did it at Bart Rose's place. And I'd look over, and he'd cue it, and whoever started the song on stage is who started in the studio. Yeah. If Copeland started, I didn't give him the tempo because we'd been grooving already. And it was just bam, 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 bam.
I love working that way.
Incredibly amazing.
And I like working with Bart too because we, I don't know. There's something to the way he works that I really jive with. Yeah. Which is, I remember the last thing I took into him was singer-songwriter project, just working on a song. Yeah. And we got a take. It was like, okay, this is what you wrote. This is what we've arranged.
Just play
it. This is what we got. And we did it.
Just play it. Yeah.
And we had it. And it was like and then I'm like, it's long. It's this guy's first song, or not first, but first one that
haven't trimmed the fat off yet.
Yeah, and even before we get up to like go listen, we know it's the take. We know it's something anyway. Right. The first time we've really made it through, and for me, I'm like, that's it, probably. Yeah. And then Bart is like, it's a little long, and I was like, man, you're right. You're right in sync with me. I was like, let's break. And I went in and we started talking about how we could trim it a little bit and start going, what about this verse? Could we, and cause he was, you know how that goes. A guy writes a song and he's going, well, I can't possibly change this right now. And this is the wrong place to do it.
Like cutting an arm off.
I know. And it's easy. It was fun to just kind of be, I had sort of brought him in. So I kind of took like a production role and just like, hey man, that song is still that song. Yeah. If you want to get this, we're trying to do this for radio. Yeah. Let's just, we can cut a minute, 45 seconds out of it. We're cooking.
You could do like the 70s and have a radio edit and a normal edit.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. No kidding. So just
Yeah.
And I love working with Bart. We're just it work fast, and I like working the way you're talking about too, just going fast.
Just so easy. And the irony is, like, Denver was horribly sick the whole day. He just sat over there on his bass amp like half alive, playing all these songs.
Just laying it down.
And it sounded wonderful.
Yeah.
And we got near like after 9 or 10 hours, and Copeland wanted to keep going, and I was like, bro, we're done. I'm sorry, but we've done 18 songs. Denver's half dead over there. It's 10:30 at night. It's time to go. So yeah, that was an amazing record to be a part of. I did that, and then I left playing with them. I was still playing at church. And then 2020 came around, and I ironically left the church I was at in January, before the world turned upside down.
Just to go into business for yourself, really?
No, I just didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It had, as the Brits say, it had ticked all the boxes. I'd done it, and it's kind of at the end of things there. So I left, and then 2020 happened. And
yeah.
But I tried for 2 more years to try to keep playing, just grasp onto something, and nothing was working.
Mm-hmm.
I did some church gigs. Oops, sorry about that. That's the wife's ringtone. I did some church gigs, and I was just like, nope, that's not going to work.
I've always been resistant to it.
I'm not resistant to it, but the church I played at for 8 years in Keller was for the most part, a really good playing situation. Like, they never told me what not to do. They just let me be myself because they knew my background from, playing professionally and all that. But then I go to, try to pick up some other church gigs, and you show up and you're like, oh, look, it's an electronic kit. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, look, I'm in a plastic cage. I'm not down with either of those. I know most people are cool with it. People adapt. I mean, adapting is one of my big mottos. So I was at odds with my own self about, like, well, why can't you adapt? And it was just like, I just couldn't do it, man. I tried.
Yeah.
And I tried jamming with some old bandmates from like the 90s at one point, and that was cool. And then at some point, I don't know what it was. I remember the last gig I did was with Copeland, oddly enough, on a Tuesday at the old Magnolia Motor Lounge. And it wasn't very fun. I don't remember why. Mm-hmm. Denver was there. I have always loved playing with Denver. Probably always will. If I had to play 2 songs with him tomorrow, I would have a blast. And then next day, my wife was like, how'd the gig go? And I was like, I'm done. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't want to pick up sticks anymore. I'm done. Mm-hmm. And just like that, the light switch it turned off. Yeah. And people are like, but you got to keep. I'm like, well, I don't have to do anything. Yeah. It's a choice. Yeah. And the passion is gone. Mm-hmm. Could it come back? Maybe. Yeah, if it comes back, then it comes back. But for now, it's toast, and I'm concentrating on managing the pub and running the drum shop.
Yeah. How'd you get into all this? Did you start in school?
Music?
Yeah.
Yes. So I was 13, going into 8th grade. You had to pick 2 electives. I don't remember the electives I picked at all, but I remember them calling me into the office at the beginning of the year saying, one of your electives is full, you need to pick something else. Now, I was a scrawny little kid, but I was still playing football. I do not, for the life of me, remember and understand why, but I picked band.
That's a little late.
Why somebody playing football would pick band is beyond me.
And in 8th grade, didn't everyone else get in 6th?
Yeah, well, 7th.
Okay.
They started 7th where I grew up in Mississippi. And then, it was like a whole semester of, those poor band directors trying to figure out what instrument to put everybody on. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they do it. And I wasn't going to play drums. It was like my second choice. And then the band director said, you chose drums for second choice. I was like, yeah. He said, well, we don't have enough drummers. And he stuck me in the 8th grade band class. No, yeah, he put me with the drummers, and I remember one of them was like really proficient for his age. So I learned a lot from him, and then it took off, and I did marching band, and I actually was with the marching band, the high school marching band, a year early in 9th grade in the pit because they needed more players. So kind of got pushed into that role early, along with the other guy that was my age. So we got to go do all the high school games in 9th grade, not 10th grade. So that was cool.
I always like that, like being a step behind everybody else.
Well, it'll make you step up.
That's what I mean.
If you want to get better as a musician, if you want to get better, play with somebody better than you.
Yeah. I've always it's taken me time to realize why sometimes I got bored in a situation, but if you go to band practice and go, man, not in an egotistical way, but you look around and go, man, I'm probably the strongest person, strongest musician here, and you end up getting pulled down. You don't pull everyone up.
Man, I've seen that happen a lot.
Yeah.
People going out to play gigs just to make money, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? You're playing with a group that's bringing your playing down.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah. So from there, does like bands and playing drum set become a thing?
So when I started playing drums in 8th grade and then 9th grade, and my parents didn't have a lot of money, extra money, and so I remember one Christmas I got a bass drum for Christmas, just a bass drum, not a kit. I'm assuming it came with a pedal. It had to have come with a pedal. So at that point, I kid you not, I had a kick drum, I had my snare drum, my Acrolite that I got in the 80s. And I had purchased through Thoroughbred Music Supply.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the old
That's
Kellogg's.
going back.
Yeah.
Okay.
A Latin percussion ice bell.
And this is your kit?
That was my kit. That poor ice bell. I bet they could hear it 4 blocks away. And
no one's worn out an ice bell like Bruce did.
And it was mounted on my snare drum with a claw, the LP claw. I didn't even have stand. And so I literally would try to play along to records, while they skipped, because I'm playing along to a record. Not a tape.
Yeah.
A record.
Yeah.
And, the rules were I could play till 5 o'clock, and then when everybody came home from their day jobs, I had to stop. So I did that every chance I got.
As soon as you got home from school,
I just
get after it.
Oh, I must have sounded terrible. But, man, I played till I just started sweating. I loved it,
Yeah.
And it took me a few years to get my first kit. I saved up money one summer and came home from my first day of senior year of high school, and my kit was in the garage waiting on me.
What'd you get?
I bought a Tama Rockstar.
Hell yeah.
In black, of course. I don't remember if I had cymbals or not, but I remember that kit coming in, and yeah.
Like bands with buddies, what's going on then? Like other guys from school band, do y'all start?
I mean, like the high school band?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time in the band hall playing drums and practicing, and, it was my life. Like, I didn't care about anything else, like English, math, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, if I wasn't in a class, I was in the band hall playing.
Gave up on football, I guess.
Oh, yeah, that happened the first year, after like 6 weeks, I walked into the coach's office in the 8th grade, and it's like, so, yeah, you're not really playing me anymore, so I'm out. See ya. That happened quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I did the whole marching band thing, and then I ended up out here going to UTA.
You right out of high school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why'd you come here?
Well, somebody that was a year older than me had made his way out to North Texas. So my dad set up an audition. That's probably not the right
tryout, something like that.
Whatever,
yeah, I got you.
At UNT and at UTA.
Okay.
And looking back, what I know now is like, why did I even go to UNT? There was no way I was going to get into that college.
We don't know.
I was not good enough. No, I really wasn't.
Neither was I.
So, yeah, I started at UTA, and it gave me a chance to learn and practice and,
Did
Go
you
for it.
march there, or is it?
I marched there for 1 year, which is funny because they don't even have a football team. And oddly enough, one of the guys who marched with me, who was kind of one of the instructors, came to the shop a couple weeks ago. And
Oh, cool.
we reminisced a bit. Yeah, I did it for one marching season. And then I remember when it was over, I was like, wait a minute. I'm in college. That's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do marching band every fall.
Mm-hmm.
I did that in high school. I can not do that and concentrate on drum set. So yeah, I just did it 1 year in college and then I stopped.
And then do you start getting gigs around here? How does that happen?
Yeah, so that was, let's see, first year of school was fall of 90, spring of 91. Then I went back home to Mississippi for a summer and instantly put a band together. We played I swear we played 25 gigs in 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And then I came back out fall of 91. And I wasn't in a band yet. The next spring, 92, that's when it was. I was getting out of my car at the dorm room at UTA and I had a pair of sticks in my back pocket. And some other, alternative-looking kid gets out of his car. And he's like, hey, are you a drummer? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, my band needs a drummer. I'm like, cool. Inside I just light up. I'm like,
oh, yeah.
I'd only had experience playing in that band in Mississippi during the summer, and then I did a couple of gigs with my brother when I was in high school, so not really a lot of experience. And I was like, cool, let's do it. I didn't know what they sounded like. I didn't know if they were any good. And I went and jammed with them a week or two later, I think, and that was my first band, and we were together for about 2.5 years. Put out a couple of cassettes, because that's what you did back then.
Yeah.
And played all the time.
What kind of stuff was it?
It was very alternative. Now, here's some irony's not the right word. Some foreshadowing, maybe? Yeah, that's a good word. Everybody in that band, except me at the time, was heavily into English bands. Northern English bands.
Okay.
From Manchester. See, it all wraps around with my wife to Manchester. They were into bands like The Verve and Blur and...
Is Stone Roses one of those?
Yep, Stone Roses is... I think they're from up north. So that was my first experience and exposure to English music. And I still love The Verve to this day.
Sure.
I can put that record on and I just... flash back 33 years to playing in my first band instantly. I can still feel and smell all those crappy little clubs and bars we played on a Sunday. Used to play Sunday nights at Club Dada, open mic night with Tom Prejean.
I remember Tom's.
Man, I can listen to that music and just go right back instantly.
Yeah.
So that was my first band, 92 to 94.
What's the name of it?
Elysian Fields.
Okay.
You never heard of this, I promise.
All right. And y'all, I was probably wearing out the Observer around that time. Just
the Observer was out, and all the. I remember at the time, I can't remember who did them. I want to say George Kumar put out all those compilation CDs, and of course that was our dream to get on one of those, and we didn't. Mm-hmm. But that's all right. And then I ended up joining a band in Dallas that was doing well at the time, and Vibrolux.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't really deserve to be in that band, but somehow I ended up in that band. And then, they got some record label attention, and we went out to L.A. a few times, and it was pretty cool. And then they signed a deal and kicked me and the bass player out.
Really? You're in one of those?
Yeah. They handed me a check.
Uh-huh.
And I bought my first DW kit with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just what the label was these guys aren't good enough? Is that?
Yeah, it was one of those things where we're signing the singer and the guitar player.
Okay.
I get it. I look back and I totally get it. At the time I was hacked off and mad and
sure,
as anybody would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what, it motivated the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm never getting fired from a band because of my playing ever again.
Yeah.
which is true. I was never fired for my playing ever again. My attitude, yeah, probably, but not my playing. I was never accused of being a horrible drummer ever after 1995. Not.
So,
just didn't happen.
Where does it go from there?
Got fired, got the money, started playing, and at the time I was living in Deep Ellum in a crappy old warehouse off of Good Latimer and Elm Street. It's still there, I know. It used to be right next door to, remember that publication, The Met, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were right next door to their office. Or they moved in next door to us, I should say. Started playing in bands, 66 with Bill Longhorse. And then Alan, that was in Vibrolux with me, Alan Hayslip was in 66 with me. And Nate was the guitar player. Great band. Mm-hmm. Did a little bit. I also started working at Trees, being a security person. I don't know why. I was so tiny. Mm-hmm. Still a little scrawny little kid. And then eventually I would work. I started working at Club Dada on Friday and Saturday nights, just bussing tables.
Yeah.
And between Dada and Trees, I started making, pretty decent money,
And connections.
Yeah. And of course, just living in Deep Ellum and hanging out in Deep Ellum and getting to know every door person. So now I don't have to pay to get in anywhere.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. And then that led to, I'm trying to think of what was next. Oh yeah. I can't remember what I was in a rock band out of Arlington called Birch County.
Yeah.
And we weren't really doing a lot around here. And then we decided to record a record in Seattle. Well, their manager decided to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. We recorded at Stone Gossard's place.
Awesome.
And his house engineer is the guy that produced our record. So I spent a month up there in December 97, which was really cool. I did my tracks in about 8 or 9 days. No click, just old school 2-inch tape.
Is that an EP or was it?
No, it's a full-length record.
Okay.
And then the rest of the time we were up there, because we flew up there, we had one of his manager's buddies drive all the gear up there. I was like, I got 2 weeks in Seattle and I'm done with my tracks. So I would just take the bus downtown every day and relax and, just relax and chill out. So that was a really good experience.
That's where I first saw you. And it was at Trees, like playing with Birch County.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Playing that DW kit, I assume.
Yeah.
But
I still have that kick drum and I still have that 3-piece.
You do?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll never sell it.
So, yeah, I was there with a buddy. I was actually there to see another band on the bill because a family friend was playing drums with another.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that was a cool thing. We were just hyper focused on the drummers anyway.
Well, yeah.
And we liked whatever band he was with. We liked that. But then you guys came on.
Yep.
And I remember, it was like our buddy, my family friend, who I still know, Brandon Wallace.
Yep.
He was, it was like he kicked ass, and we were very pleased. And then you guys came on, and my buddy, I liked that whole vibe anyway of Birch County. And then my buddy was like, "Dude, this drummer's a monster." And we were kind of zeroed in on you. I think we probably went up and introduced ourselves.
Yep.
Just because we were nerds, and just it was like that was love the band. And I don't know if I'd be as brazen now just to be like, I like that band. We ought to go, we just go and say hi, introduce ourselves. But
at our age, you just kind of let the person be.
Yeah. But I was 16 or 17 and I have to go talk to this guy.
I had a reverse happenstance happen like that once at Trees. And I was playing with Vibrolux. And I got done. And I don't know who alerted me to the fact that this person was there. But before I know it, I'm standing in front of Dave Aberzees.
Awesome.
Chatting with him. And I'm like, blah, blah, trying to keep my wits about me. And he said he dug the show. And I'll never forget that.
Was it that same band?
No, it was Vibrolux.
Sorry.
And of course, he just gave me his phone number. And was like, "Hey, I'm recording with Castell and Paul Slavin.
Yeah.
Stop by next week. Just come by the studio and hang out." And I was like, You got it.
Yeah, I'll be there.
So they were recording at night. They were going from like 8 or 9 p.m. to like 5 a.m. And so I went by there one night like at midnight. And I don't have any. I might have been there 30 minutes. I might have been there 2 hours. I don't remember. But what a cool experience. I learned a lot from him about cymbals that night too, recording-wise.
Really?
Yeah.
Slavens was in here a month ago, and he was telling us about what a wild party that was, and how cool that was, and sounds awesome.
Yeah, so I did my time around Deep Element, Dallas, Fort Worth, and I remember playing gigs in Fort Worth with my first band, playing at the old Mad Hatters, which is now it's the Egyptian restaurant right there on the corner. Every time I drive by there to go to Benito's, I'm just so many memories, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked my way up through the ranks, I suppose, and then did that record in Seattle. And then when I came back, of course, when you're in a rock band, you don't play a lot. I don't know what it is. Like, there's more rehearsing than there is playing. It's never made any sense to me whatsoever. Like, we know the songs. Why are we rehearsing still? We should be out there gigging. That was always my mentality.
Yeah.
In about a month or two after I got back from Seattle, my buddy Richie Vasquez hollered at me. Do you know Richie?
Well, I heard his name recently.
Yeah.
So
lives down I believe he's down south. He was playing with, getting old sucks, Jesse Dayton at the time. And they were about to embark on the first tour that George Strait did back then, where he played every Saturday, Sunday. And it was just a big, huge stadium tour, but it was only Saturday, Sunday. Easy for George to do. They just fly in, get on a bus, right? Mm-hmm. But for all these people on the side stage, they're all in vans. So if there's 2 shows in Montana, guess what? You got to route to Montana that weekend. Mm-hmm. Or, and maybe stay out for 2 weeks. So Jesse got one of those slots. And so Richie was going to be gone. And he said, hey, you mind filling in for me on Monday nights at Adair's? I've been jamming with Matt and Steve from, Strap Lone Star Trio. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. So went and had a little jam night with them. I guess they needed to see if I could play a train beat. Mm-hmm. And I guess I did.
Yeah.
And so that kicked off my 1100 Spring stuff.
Had you played any country?
Never in my life.
Okay.
Never even listened to it. I don't know how I just suddenly knew how to play a shuffle or a swing. I don't, but I just did. I took to it quite quick.
Cool.
And my first setup with 1100 was so small because the stage at Adair's was not originally where it's at. It was originally back by the bathrooms in a corner.
Terrible
It was
spot.
so small that the fiddle player had to plug into Matt's amp. They had a double channel amp. Mm-hmm. And he had to play into that amp because there was no room.
Yeah.
And I literally had a snare drum and a crash cymbal. That's it. That's all I played at Adair's.
That's
for
cool.
the longest time.
That'll make you good.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even have a kick drum.
Yeah.
That was up to Steve to hold down the low end. And so, man, we did that for a while and then just, cut our first record on a 1/2-inch reel-to-reel, 8 tracks.
Yeah.
The engineer, Reed, we basically cut all the songs, did my drums on 8 tracks, and then he submixed it down to 1 track.
Oh, really?
Submixed it to a DAT tape, and then put that DAT tape onto 1 track, so it opened up 7 more for the rest of the band. Mm-hmm. And, that's how we cut the first record.
That's cool. That's like those days of like having to deal with limited amounts of tracks are gone.
It makes you play.
I know.
It makes you play better.
When you make decisions too, when you have to do that bounce even, you make decisions quick because then you're like, well, here's this one channel and for the drums.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, so are your drum parts good enough? And once I say yes, there's no changing anything.
No.
There's actually a mistake on that record, on that first record, in the middle of one of the solos. I don't know what I did. I I did the fill into the next like 16 bars a bar early. But I didn't mess up coming out of those 16 bars. It's on the record to this day, and it just cracks me up. It's like
Did it just get by? Like,
yeah, it got by. I think somebody noticed it. I noticed it, or Reed, the producer, noticed it, like in mix down or when Matt was cutting his guitar solo. I was like, oh, and Reed's like, well, nothing we could do.
Yeah, it's like that now.
And it reminds me of, reading all the stories about all the jazz guys back in New York in the 40s and 50s, and they're like, if you couldn't play, you didn't get the gig. Mm-hmm. If you messed up on tape, your mistakes stayed on tape for the rest of your life.
Well, I mean, that's on so many great records,
Yeah.
Like I think like one of the biggest ones is like McCoy Tyner hits a big clam in the middle of My Favorite Things.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't notice it till someone pointed it out to me. Like, oh, no kidding. Yeah. That's a big clanger right there.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. And I don't know why either they're probably like, it's fine.
Yeah.
There's other things too. Someone makes a mistake and yells something or whatever. There's little ones, they kind of go by with time.
Yeah.
And I think we're just conditioned to think everything's on purpose anyway. So you're never listening to a record listening for a mistake.
No. Well, with technology, it can be fixed too easily.
Well, yeah, but I mainly listen to old stuff anyway.
Oh,
where it's likely to be mistakes.
Yeah, well, that makes it human, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I remember cutting that Birch County record and wanting it to be perfect. And I even told the producer, I was like, look, man, if I have to play to a click, I'll do it. We're recording on 2-inch reel-to-reels. Like, I don't know what I was thinking back then. I was mainly thinking like just click in the headphones, not actually, on track, on a track. And he was like, no, we're not doing that. And I was like, but didn't you say we're going to like do 2 or 3 takes and you're going to splice the tape and edit it together? And he was like, yeah. And he goes, you'll be fine, man. Don't worry about it. And it kind of gave me some confidence, of like, oh, I can do this.
Well, I can see coming off that Vibrolux experience, being like, I'm gonna, this is my chance. I'm gonna kick some ass.
Yeah, I didn't want to mess up again.
No way.
But he wouldn't let me, And now, fast forward to now, over the years, I'd record to click for sure. 8 years at church, man. It's a lot of click in your ears.
Yeah.
I battled against that a lot, and that over that 8 years of playing in church with the click, you really learn how to play in and around the click. Uh-huh. And the real key is to not hear it. If you can't hear it, don't panic. You're on.
Yeah.
If you can hear it, you're not on. But you also have to learn not to panic when you can.
Yeah.
It's this minute, I don't even know how to describe the adjustments you make, playing live with a click,
I know. Yeah. I mean, I've dealt, and even in studio situations, I tend to know that the take, or that I did a good job on the take when I didn't think about the click one time.
Yeah.
I just thought about the music. The click was there.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's just that's a funny thing about music. That's just something that for some reason we obsess over, and there's I know it's easier from like an editing standpoint or whatever, but
it's just become the norm. That's all. I mean, I did live in Nashville for a short time, and well, I guess we can get to that. But yeah, I lived in Nashville for a short time, and man, I knew guys that had little bitty 1-room studios.
That's everybody, right?
Smaller than this place. There was one friend of mine who his job was to auto-tune.
Yeah.
Because he did. Every records would get sent to him, and he would just auto-tune the mess out of them. And I remember thinking, why? Why can't people just sing?
Yeah.
Why does everything have to be adjusted, Mm-hmm. All those great records that we love from like, pre-1995 or 90, we love them all because they were real.
Yeah.
It's like if you listen to the beginning of a couple of Willie Nelson songs, where the drums, Paul starts out on the drums first, and the drums just don't sound good, man. It's like doom pa boom. It's like, wow, what a bad mix. Then the whole band comes in and you're like, now it sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just real music.
Yeah.
Played by real people, you know. It's a lost art, I think.
I think I feel like there's a big thing with everyone. It's like everyone at every level now has the ability to kind of obsess over their part. Mm-hmm. And the engineer is one of those people too.
Yeah.
And so they get more into
because his name's going to be on it.
Right. They get more into what they can do with it.
Yeah.
And how perfect, I put up air quotes for those listening, they can make it, but it doesn't matter if the song's no good. You know, no one's going to listen to it. No one's going to care if the song is no good.
If the song's not great and the playing's not great and it's, you know, if it's over processed, you know, and produced, then it's just, it won't matter.
Yeah. Well, so when did you go to Nashville? Why'd you go to Nashville?
So, did the 1100 Springs thing, left there. Well, I didn't leave. I was forced out. And then what else? What did I do after that? It's all a blur. Played with a bunch of dudes out of Austin for a while. Then I was playing with Speed Trucker as well out of Dallas. I did that for a while.
Hell yeah.
Those guys are still my friends to this day. Mm-hmm. After that, I got Stoney gig. I was with Stoney for about, not long, honestly. Mm-hmm. Maybe a year, 14 months. That was, I'm trying to be polite. Not a good situation. Glad I got kicked out. Mm-hmm. Very, not a good touring situation for me. After that, I joined up with Bonnie Bishop out of Boston.
Okay, yeah. I know Bonnie.
Played with her for a while. She was all about playing and touring, which was right up my jam. Like, oh, we're going to play 3 or 4 gigs a week. We're going to tour. Sign me up. I just gone through a divorce, just moved to Fort Worth. So it was perfect to just be busy, you know. I did a lot of stuff with her. I went all over the country many times. Went to Australia and Japan. Then I left her. Oh, it's all a blur. I started playing with Sonny Sweeney. Actually moved down to Austin for a while, and it's like, I can't do this. I can't live down here. It's not my jam. Mm-hmm. So moved back to Fort Worth, left Sonny. About 6 months later, she was like, hey, we've got this 2-week tour. We're going to be on a bus, and I need you. I can't take the guy that's playing with us. I'm like, and by I can't take means I need to take you out, not him out. Didn't want to make it personal. So I did that 2-week tour, but I still wasn't back with her. So that was. It's a really nice, relaxing feeling. Know that you can't be fired because you haven't joined the band. So I played really well and had a blast, you know, because there was no pressure. And then after that, I think that's when I moved to Nashville. There was some stuff going on in Fort Worth, and I just didn't want to be here. Mm-hmm. So, or maybe it was a year later. It really does all run together. But so I moved back. I moved to Nashville because Bonnie had moved there and Sonny had moved there. And I'm like, well, I got 2 people to play gigs with. So I moved to Nashville, and then, of course, I get there, and they're not playing, which is what people do when they move there. Mm-hmm. They just stop playing. They stop doing everything they did to get there. And it makes no sense to me. I'm like, wait a minute.
Why are we here?
You got me to move here, and now you're not giving me any work. So I got to witness firsthand the Nashville machine that will, you either come out way on top, or you just get eaten up and chewed up and spit out. Mm-hmm. They do not care. They don't care who's in the band. They just don't care. It is all about the singer, and everybody else comes, 4th or 5th, not even 2nd.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I moved back to Fort Worth in 2011. Yeah, I was only in Nashville for like 15 months.
Okay.
Not a good time in my life. Like, I think that's where I learned the lesson of, like, you can't move and run somewhere else, because where you're at's bad, because
Right.
it really does follow you. Mm-hmm. It's really in you and not. It can be more of your issues than anybody else's issues. So I had to deal with all that, and I moved back here, and a couple months later is when Copeland called me. Mm-hmm. You know, so I love Nashville. It's a great city.
I do too.
Only been back once since then, and that was last April to go buy a bunch of drum gear. Yeah, left here and turned it around in about 48 hours. Yeah, it was like 35 hours in the car. It was madness, pure madness. I did a lot of chain smoking of cigars on that trip. But yeah, so I think, that's pretty much my whole music career. And then, did the Copeland thing and then just stopped.
Yeah. Were you always gear guy? Like, you have to do what you do now, you have to have some sort of knowledge of gear, of like what has worth and stuff like that. Have you always kind of been that guy? Like, do you walk onto a stage and look around and know kind of what's good and what's not, or what's...
Yes and no.
Okay.
I learned a lot about gear, guitar gear and bass gear from Josh that was in Speed Trucker, played guitar. Learned a lot about old tellies and old original Bassmans. He had one at one time.
Yeah.
Learned a lot of stuff about guitars from him. And that's a whole nother different kind of podcast. And then, so yeah, and I bought my first DW kit in '95 from that money I got from being kicked out of the band. So I think I always recognized good gear at that point, but I didn't know the value. I learned all of the value of cymbals and drums and snares and pedals, and when I started buying and selling.
Okay.
I had to educate myself,
Yeah.
I think there's a bad habit amongst people in general now. It's like, oh, we have the internet. We have Facebook. I can just ask somebody and get the answer. Well, that's all well and good. Mm-hmm. But you also have to do your own due diligence. So I learned, like, I can't bug people every time I don't know about a drum or a pedal or a drum kit, Like, I've got to learn this stuff myself.
Right.
So I just start going on Reverb and eBay and look at sold listings and,
yeah.
Occasionally I'll ask people, if I can't find the answer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the, I collected sports cards when I was a kid, and you'd get you could get a price guide, but it would tell you the worth.
With no pictures.
Yeah.
Right. Just information. Yeah.
But also, at some point, probably my grandpa or someone was like, or my dad was like, it's worth that if you can find someone who will pay that for it.
Correct.
They're saying, it did sell for this amount, or theoretically could sell for this amount, but it's actually worth what someone will give you for it.
Yeah. And I've been facing that issue a lot in the last couple of years with the economy, and it's getting worse, I got a lot of great gear in there that's, I have a little bit of wiggle room. Mm-hmm. Worked into all my prices. I have to, because everybody wants to feel like they got a better deal.
Right.
But I still, I'm looking around at some of my stuff going, how am I going to sell that? I got that really expensive DW exotic kit.
Very valuable.
Yeah, I knew I was going to be stuck with that kit for a while. I almost had somebody looking at it recently, and I was just, and he didn't. He pulled the trigger on something else. I've had somebody else, trying to trade me 2 and 3 drum sets for that kit as well. And I'm just like, I don't want to trade 2 or 3 drum kits for it. I want to sell it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go sell those kits and bring me back the money.
Yeah, and that happens a lot too. People are like, well, my stuff's worth this. And I'm like, okay, well, just go sell it and come buy my thing. Mm-hmm. Never happens. 100% of the time, never happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
But it's also the turnaround of selling it and the time it takes. Like, I know that when somebody offers me up some item that might or might not be equal to what they want from me, or close to equal, maybe they need to put some cash on top. If I say, well, you just need to go sell that, I know when I'm saying that, even if they don't, like they're looking at 4 or 5 months. Because it takes a while to sell stuff, you know?
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. Do you, how does that, like, I don't know. I mean, okay, so you're doing a big sale. This is probably, do you do these quarterly?
No, I used to do 3 a year. I used to do a spring sale, a summer sale, and a winter sale. And I've learned that summer sales, it's too much.
Okay.
So now I do a spring sale and a winter sale.
So is there, I know, like, I went in over the winter, you know,
Yeah,
I
you
just
were there.
ran into people. I bought, you know, I think I was just supposed to be just taking you some stuff, and I ended up buying something, you know.
Yeah, I think you picked up those 15-inch or 16-inch Sabians.
Yeah.
Hats,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love them. Absolutely. And so that's what happens, right? Is like you do something in sort of a, hey, there's deals to be had, but people come in and they might buy something, but probably they look at something that catches their eye and they may not buy it, but maybe a month down the road, they get that tax return, they get that paycheck, some sort of windfall, they sell something and go, oh, I'm coming back for that. It's just generally good for you, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and it's because being in Platinum Music Complex, it's a locked rehearsal facility. So I have to meet people by appointment on the, you know, I meet them on the east end of the building. I'm going to let them in. That works fine. I don't keep regular hours. I can't advertise regular hours or my address because it's a locked rehearsal facility.
yeah.
And I don't need somebody showing up at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, assuming I'm open, not being able to get into the building, and then being mad at me.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know why they would be mad at me.
I'm mad at you just hearing about it, Bruce.
Yeah, but it would happen. People would get mad at me and leave me a bad review because they couldn't get what they wanted when they wanted it. So when I moved into Platinum in August of 21, Dwayne had bought some gear from me and approached me and said, hey, come look at this room. You should move your shop in here.
Cool.
And I thought about it for about a day or two, and I was like, yeah, time to make a jump and get out of the storage space. Because I'd have a built-in crowd. People would be walking by my room every day that are drummers.
Yep.
And when I moved in there, I realized, wait a minute, I can do a sale. I can just do a 5 or 6 hour sale and have people just show up. So it's taken a while. You know, my first sale was me mostly sitting around waiting on people to walk in. Didn't do a lot of money that day, but you know, I know that things take time, and you got to build things. You know, so yeah, the sale is on May 17th from 2 to 7 p.m. And I'll have the front doors unlocked to Platinum, the doors by the flagpoles out front.
Yeah.
And people would just come and go from 2 to 7. And I'll be there selling them anything they want. That is a day I only sell. I don't do any buying and I don't do any trading. It's
a sale.
It's just selling. It's really busy from like 2 to 4, generally speaking. And then there'll be a lull from for about an hour and a half tops. And then like the last hour and a half or two will be busy again.
I liked coming by there, and it was like, you know, cool because, you know, I ran into some people I knew and you know, that's fun. That's a cool vibe.
Yeah.
But it's like, I enjoy our normal interaction too, because I typically come by, I have something I know I want to get that we've talked about before, but then we hang out for a little bit and we chat, and you're like, oh, hey dude, check this out. Or, oh, you might like this, or, you know, like we end up having, I mean, and it's a small space too. It's not like, so if there's a bunch of people around, I feel a little less secure.
Yeah, you can't hang out and have a conversation on my sale days. It's just impossible.
Yeah. So
and me meeting by appointment only allows that conversation to happen, because unless you have a key to the building, if we're talking, we're not going to get randomly overrun by 4 people walking in the door.
Yeah.
So that works.
But I also noticed on sale day, like, you got a lot going on, so you're kind of like in deal mode, like that. Those symbols, you were like, yeah, check them out. I was like, I kind of dig them, and you know, and you're like, you want them? It's like, I don't know. And you're like, I can't remember what price you said. I was immediately like, yeah. Okay, no, yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'll take them. And that's like what's going on that day. It's different than, so it's kind of got a different benefit than getting to hang out and, kind of.
Yeah, I do a pretty extensive list of cymbals and snare drums and drum kits now with a price list, and I put the normal price and then I put the sale price. And there was a couple of guys at my last sale in November, and they were like, "Well, could I get it for this?" And I'm like, "Okay." And I sometimes I can be overtly blunt and slightly harsh. My wife reminds me of it all the time. I don't mean to be, and I'm glad she points it out because she's there to make my life better. And I'm trying to explain to these guys, I'm like, look, this is normally this price. Here's the sale price. Today is the sale. That's the price. Well, I know, but could I? And I'm just like, ugh. I'm like trying to stay patient, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm like, that's the sale price. There it is.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you want to pay it, that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, I totally understand. No worries. Yeah.
Do you got, dude, it's amazing to be in there. I know what I like. You have a pretty good idea, I think, of what different people like and everything. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it is just astounding, like how many cymbals you have, how many snare drums you have. If you went from starting with the one kit that you flipped, do you know how many kits you have? Currently? Yeah,
oddly enough, my buddy Robert Kramer was up there yesterday, bass player from back in the 80s, 90s. Great guy. We counted them.
What's the number?
39.
39.
39 shell packs.
Your business has grown 39 times, right? Is it easy?
That doesn't count all the kits that I've sold. You know what I mean?
But if you went from 1 to 39, that's measurable.
Yeah. At my last sale in November, I had 35 kits.
Yeah.
So
is that? I mean, are you like at max capacity? Is that pretty much?
Oh yeah,
where you can...
I've got that room across the hall that Henry is in. Henry's the drummer for Pentagram. They're blowing up. I don't know if you catch any of their memes. Anyway, he's like, man. He got me a key to that room and was like, put some kits over here. So I've got 5 kits in the window over there. Mm-hmm. So I got 5 over there and 34 in my other room. So yeah, I mean, I'm like, I'm maxed out. You can't, if you just kind of make a sweep visually across my rooms, you can't see them all because there's some stacked behind other stuff.
Yeah.
And but what I'm doing right now works, the thought of like, going to get a brick and mortar and all that overhead. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Is there a situation where you, like, even in your mind or something ideal where you said, if this and this happened, or if you came into a space where someone said, I could offer you more room, a more open kind of area to line the walls with, you could sit in one spot and be able to see everything.
Yeah, that would be great. I don't see it happening anytime soon. I would love to expand because I need to.
I mean, I feel like like right now you see a bunch of old grocery stores. I see it happening anyway. They're turning like pickleball stuff, and I'm like, we could do something cooler. We could do paintball.
Yeah,
we could do laser tag. You see, like, there's trampoline parks everywhere. Yeah. There, I assume at some point it is just going to be like retail space is going to be at a low, and that will could present an opportunity for people to maybe want to do what you're doing or open a venue or whatever. I mean, there's an obvious market for what you're doing because there's Fatback, out in East Dallas. There's John Zug, Dave Carrington. Yeah. And it's all guys with varying amounts of space.
Oh, Dave's got the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just admit that here on record. Dave's got the most space. His warehouse is insane.
Yeah. But I mean, he's sort of backed into it from being a car guy.
Yeah. Well, I try to, speaking of Dave and John and Kyle, I try to do something different.
Well, you guys all do.
I'm not, Correct. Dave kind of balances it between modern gear and vintage gear, but I would say he's more of a vintage guy. Vintage is mostly what all Kyle's doing. And Kyle's also doing the repair, refurb thing, I think. I'm not sure. I concentrate on modern gear. I want to buy a kit used that I can turn a profit on, that you can take to a gig that night.
Yeah.
That you could tour with. That if you went on tour and you broke a piece, you could replace it at a music store.
Yeah.
That's really the stuff that I concentrate on. I've never been a vintage drum guy. I've got 2 or 3 vintage kits in my shop right now that I haven't even listed yet. Got some vintage snares. Those are easier to store. I don't want to do the vintage thing.
Sure.
Because I'm not as familiar with it, and I feel like I could make a big mistake and lose money on it.
It seems like if you're going to want to get in that game too, you need to be able to do a little bit of repair, or at least finding little old parts, because these things, as they get passed around, someone at some point was in a pinch on tour or whatever, and just said, well, I can make this little repair with this piece. And they all kind of tell a funny story, you know. Because I get them from all over, and you'll just be like, why did someone put this piece of hardware on this drum? And but they did, and it was because it worked.
Oddly enough, I went to. I don't like to talk about it too much because I'm not trying to keep a secret, but I'll just say this: I don't buy all my gear in DFW. But I also, I go get gear from somewhere else. I went on this huge run in late February. Well, not huge run. I went to one spot. It was all set up over the course of like 6 weeks. Spent a lot of money, but a huge amount of what I got from this purchase was parts. I got old Ludwig nickel-plated parts, and I got old Slingerland parts. I got 2 huge 20-inch cocktail drums, one WFL, one, I forget what the other one is. That's my first foray into vintage gear, And I had a Joel Cameron. I think he's up in Plano.
Name rings a bell, but I don't know from where.
Cool guy. I think he's got a YouTube page.
Okay.
I'll show it to you later.
Okay.
I really needed help going through all this stuff and I can't do it. I don't know vintage gear. He came over to the shop one day for about 3 hours, and we went through every piece and separated all of it. And I've probably forgotten what half of it is, but I at least have it separated by brand, so now I can figure it out.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of old lugs, a bunch of claws, just all kinds of kooky stuff.
Yeah.
That I'm so busy that I've yet to get around to posting. But I'm saving a lot of small boxes from Amazon because those small parts, man. I just put them in a small box, ship it off for $15 max, and those will be reverb items.
You do a lot of that too.
I started doing reverb about 15, 16 months ago at the urging of my buddy Henry. It's in Pentagram. He's like, bro, you need to put all this stuff on reverb. And I'm like, I'll put some of it on reverb. I'm not putting all of it. He's like, no, you need to put it all. And I'm like, I'm not going to put a pair of New Beat hi-hats or a 9000 DW pedal on reverb. There's 500 of them already.
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that? That's a lot of time wasted.
Margin in the shipping.
Yeah, and I got to lose
be
10,
so competitive with the
10%
pricing.
10% on total sales, including shipping. They take 10% out of shipping because they process the money.
Yeah.
So I put specific rare items up there, like DW Edge snares or.
That's smart.
I got an old. I just got it. I got a 18-inch K Custom Ride. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff that you're not going to run into every day. I got that Tama Bill Bruford snare on reverb and things like that.
Yeah, that's sort of what I like about what you do is if I'm looking for something specific, I can look around online and go, I know that that's the price I'll pay. I won't have a chance to look at it or touch it or anything or hear it until it gets shipped. Who knows what might happen while it's getting shipped.
Yeah.
If I wait around, chances are you'll get your hands on one. And then I'll go, oh, hey, I'm coming by.
Yeah.
And it's that immediacy.
Yeah.
And then I get to show up, check it out, chat with you for a little bit.
Yeah. It's crazy the stuff I come across. And there's not, there's some, I don't want to say rare items, but stuff I just, every now and then I'll be like, oh, I've never had that in the shop,
Do you have to kind of keep an eye out to buy things, or are you known enough now to where people specifically reach out to you when they want to sell a bunch of stuff?
Oh, yeah. So in the beginning, all I did every day, especially during COVID, was like, man, I was in my little Honda Fit every day going back here, every single day, because the pub was closed. Mm-hmm. And I'm a busybody. I like to stay working. Mm-hmm. I could win the lottery and I would still do something for work because I don't want to sit around. I was buying stuff all the time, like all the time. Like my wife would get so annoyed, it'd be like, oh, I got to go, I've learned to adjust that mentality. Mm-hmm. But part of that adjusting is now, you're right, I have a lot of people reach out to me. I've had people reach out to me from 3, 4, 5 hours away who are like, hey, I'm going to be in DFW and I got some gear for sale. And it comes to me. Yeah.
That seems like where you want to be, is be known as that. Because with everything, when you're selling that stuff, it is, better than anybody. If you want to get rid of it fast, it better be cheap.
Yeah, and I tell people that, people are like, hey, I had a guy recently send me a picture of his DW kit. It's a kick drum, 2 up, 2 down. And the 2 up, 2 down I don't come across those all the time. So when I get the chance to get them, I want to get them. I don't care what brand it is, Tama, DW, Pearl, whatever. And he goes, I need this much. And I was like, I can't pay that, man. I'm sorry. I said, it's worth that. It's probably worth a little more. But I can't pay that. Hmm. And I just tell them up front, I have to make a profit. So if you want me to buy that, I'll tell you what I can pay, or we can negotiate. But yeah, I can't pay market value. A lot of people don't understand that. They come to me all the time with, hey, can you buy this? I'm like, not for that price. And they're like, well, it's worth that. Yes, it is worth that.
Yeah. Again, wait around. But, someone will get it for you. Yeah.
Do you want to, especially with the economy right now, it's like, and I feel like every time I say that, it's just going to make people more scared to spend money, which is not working in my favor. But it's like, do you want to sell it now, today? Or do you want to sell it in 6 months? It's your choice. But if you want to sell it now, you have to take less money from me. Because I might have that for 18 months.
Yeah.
And here recently, I've had people who I don't believe understand the used market, who are always like, well, you've had that a while. Maybe you should mark it down. Well, yeah, if I mark it down and I lose profit because I buy used gear, what do I got to do now? Now I have to get in my car. I got to look more online. I got to go buy. I got to spend time and money and effort. Where if I just stay patient, maybe I haven't sold that shell pack because of the price. Maybe I haven't sold it because the person who really wants it hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I'd take the latter view.
Yeah. You got to.
Because I've missed out on selling shell packs to people who go buy them brand new, and I'm like, bro, why'd you buy that from X online store? I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, and they're like, oh, because I wanted this finish. I had one guy, super cool guy. He's like, I wanted purple sparkle. Yeah, I can't help you with that. I don't have a purple sparkle.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So, and they can, put it on their credit card, which is another thing I'm contemplating, but not quite yet. So yeah, I lose out on sales like that, and it takes a while.
Do you ever, I don't know, I was trying to formulate have you ever bought something that you thought, oh, this is a slam dunk, and then it just sat with you forever?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, not all the time, but There's been shell packs where I'm like, man, if I price this at this, there's no way it's not going to sell. And then like 15 to 18 months later, I'm like, why do I? And then almost every time with a shell pack, it comes down to because of the color. Mm-hmm. I had a Thomas Star Classic Performer Series. It was a kick drum and had 3 floor toms and 3 rag toms. And I priced it at $2,000. And it was like 14, 16, 18 floor tom, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe it had a 15. I don't remember. Who's not going to buy this, right? It took forever.
Yeah.
And I had to take a trade in. I had to take a drum set in on trade, and the guy put cash on top. That was the only way to move it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, that happens a lot. And then I have other kits where, like, that, you know, there's really no rhyme or reason. Last year, I put up a DW Blue Sparkle kit, and it was an early Silver Badge Collectors from 09 because it had the paper tag on the inside with the date written on it. And they only did that for like a year or so with the Silver Badge Collectors. And it was a 22 kick, 12-inch rack, 14, 16 floor, and a matching snare. The matching snare was a little bit cool because I don't get those a lot. Mm-hmm. I put it up for $3,600, and the next day, some kid from San Antonio was like, "I want that." And so we had to do a lot of talking and translating from Spanish to English. But basically, it boiled down to, okay, I'll meet you Saturday morning at Temple at the Central Market. Or, no, HEB. Sorry, HEB. So I got up that morning at like 6. And I told him the day before I was going to do this. And I messaged him and I said, I'm ready to go. I'm going to leave at 7:45, but I'm not leaving my house till I hear from you. Because I'm not going to didn't want to get halfway down there and him be like, sorry, couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sold that kit in 5 days.
Awesome.
For full asking price. That's rare. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Appreciate it when it does.
Sometimes it takes weeks and months, and sometimes I just want to give it away to get rid of it.
What's the scenario under which you want to play again?
I couldn't tell you.
No?
I think about it often. I think my wife would like me to play again because she always loved, watching me play. That's not why we met. We did not meet through me playing, which is nice. But I can't. I don't know. Like, the desire's just gone. I figure if I'm ever going to play, if the good Lord gives me the desire to play again, He'll present the opportunity and I'll go back to playing. Until then, I'm happy not playing.
Yeah. But you're still involved. You still like hang out with musicians all the time.
Yeah.
And you talk gear and if this is like your connection to it.
Yeah, it scratches the itch.
Yeah. Cool. I like it.
I mean, I don't know how to explain it other than that, People do ask me like, so you never play at all? And I'm like, I sit down for about 10 minutes a week, and then I get bored really fast.
I like it when you're showing gear, like when you did a thing with some hi-hats a couple weeks ago, and you were messing around with those Chinas, and I'm watching. I'm like, what's going?
Yeah. Because I realize I need to do that more.
If something's cool, if something's weird, I'm like, maybe that's usable. Maybe that's something I could get into.
Those 12-inch Chinas yesterday as hi-hats was a complete joke.
I know.
My buddy Robert was there, and we were talking, and I was talking about those 17-inch orchestra cymbals that I'm selling as hi-hats now.
Yeah.
Because I'm never going to sell them as orchestra cymbals. So I figured, well, let's turn them into hi-hats. And so I was telling him about that, and I looked over and saw those Chinas, and I was like, oh, let's try it with those too. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, man, maybe I need to start doing more videos like that,
Yeah.
Just recording stuff. And I'm so rusty. I hate hearing myself play. I hate it because I'm just so rusty. But I like playing music. I've always preferred being a drummer with music. I was never like a drum nerd. Mm-hmm. I very quickly, early on, playing drums, let go of the whole nerding out about gear and playing and this lick and that lick. Like, I just want to play a song with a good melody, and I want to stay out of the way of the melody.
Yeah.
That was my approach in 1100, was like, all those great songs Matt wrote.
Yep.
It's my job to keep a beat and to stay out of his way. That's always the way I've approached all my playing with any band I've ever been with.
You're on A Straighter Line?
Yeah, that was the last record I cut with him.
Because that one's, I mean, not only
the way we did that was amazing.
Not only do I love that record, but like I just love that approach. And I wish more bands were talking about this. Like, it's not perfect, and there is no I don't know, it's not like the title track. I think maybe that's like the signature version of that song or whatever, even though I know they recorded it again. But
that song, A Straighter Line, was the idea behind the whole record.
I mean,
we were in California, and we were Matt was talking about doing a gospel record, and I was like, bro, you got my attention. Let's do this. And so we talked about it. I don't remember all it was talked about, but I remember we talked about it. And at the time, our guitar player was Chris Clarity, who now plays with Cody Jinx. Chris is literally one of my favorite guitar players I've ever played with.
Monster player.
In my whole musical life. And side note, I played with Cody for a while before he blew up. And when I stopped playing with him, he reached out to me and said, hey, do you have Chris Clarity's number? So you're welcome to both of you fellas. But it's not my talent that got him a gig. It's his talent. But that's the way it works. You meet this person, you know, that's the way we all got gigs.
Yeah.
But Chris was playing with us, and he had a house down in, you know, won't say where because I don't know if he still lives there or not.
Had a house.
And he had some recording gear. And we were just like, let's do it at your house. So we all set up in different rooms. Literally, he ran wires to different rooms in the house. And I just had like a snare drum. I don't even remember what I cut that record with. I have no recollection.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
know it wasn't a full kit, obviously. A lot of percussion and snare drum and brushes.
It gives the impression that you guys are sitting, it sounds like you're sitting in the same room.
That's definitely the vibe we were going for.
And that it works. And like it, again, I wish more bands would do it. I'm so glad that you guys did. And, you know, it shows how well everybody played together, how on the same level everybody is, and how talented everybody is at doing what you're talking about, staying out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
No, you cannot do that if everybody is going, check this out.
Yeah.
No one. Like everyone understood in that moment.
Yeah.
These Matt's songs are great.
Yeah.
I'm playing a part in this, and let's go.
I think if we would have done that in a studio that wasn't at Chris's house, I think it would have been probably, they would have, aside from me, maybe on snare drum, and I think I played brushes and, you know, side stick, real simple.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other four of them might have been all in a half circle.
Okay.
You know, Chris couldn't play. Maybe he did. I don't remember. Knowing Chris, he probably hit record and played along, and then because that's how talented he is. But yeah, it was so natural and so easy.
Again, if you had gone into a studio though, then whoever's at the controls starts to understand the limitations and going, what if we did this?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, and you start,
they'd have just gotten in the way of all of
that. Yeah. It's great that it's a band member.
Yeah.
And someone who is just willing to do that job and go, well, I can hit record and I can hustle in here.
He's in the mix and understands it. It's not some outside voice who doesn't understand it. The band, you know? And so we did that there. I think he mixed it down there too. Like, we did it for free.
Yeah. I mean, however it got done, it's great. And
that cover was amazing. That's the back of Matt's guitar.
Cool.
That's a picture of the back. We did things very, not back then, but, you know, now you call them old school. Like the cover of that first record, us standing by that sign, that's a real sign that Steve made. An actual sign. And we went out into the country, nailed it into the ground, used 2 trucks with their lights on to do a photo shoot.
DIY. It's also called now.
There's no computer, adjusting to this and that. It was just, hey, let's make this sign, and here's the record cover. And, oh, yeah, you got to leave your truck running because the sun's going down. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. Well, dude, thanks so much for coming by.
You bet.
Talk about your sale one more time. Let everybody know who's listening, who wants to go. Everybody go hang out with Bruce, get to know him, and support him.
Yeah, so the sale, the shop is Fort Worth Drum Emporium. I got several pages on Facebook you can find. The sale is on Saturday, May 17th from 2 to 7 p.m. at Platinum Music Complex in North Richland Hills. The front doors will be unlocked by the flagpoles, and you can come and go as you want. I'm working on a few things to make the day fun. I don't want to say it because if I don't get them done, then I will have false advertised. But everything will be on sale. Drum sets, snare drums, cymbals, some hardware, not all the hardware. Anything else I can find. If I can pull together some free giveaways, I'm going to do that. But yeah, it should be a blast.
I got 3 gigs that day and a lot of space between them, and I am planning on stopping by.
Oh, well, there you go.
I will be by in the middle of the day.
Yeah. I have several people. Well, I have 2 people I know coming from out of state already.
Yeah.
And I've told them, look, if you need to come early at 1, you can, but I'm going to be busy. They've already pre-planned what they're buying, so
okay,
there's that. But
well, cool, man. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Take care.
Yep.